I learned from my mother that you don't play the victim. You deal with the circumstances that are given to you, and it just means you work harder. And no one worked harder than my parents. And I thought, what, okay, how do I get past this? It just inspired me and motivated me to work harder. It lit a fire in me that said, I may be like this today, but I'm not going to be like that tomorrow. I'm going to use it to motivate me to do better and be better.
Think about the last time that someone said something mean to you. Were you angry? Sad? How about grateful? Today, for this Thanksgiving episode, we're talking with Cora Schumann. She's Mexican American, Senior Director, and Head of Corporate IT at eHealth. Cora shares with us her family's journey. It starts in Mexico. Her parents didn't have much money. In fact, her mom literally grew up under a tree. And her mom and dad wanted a better life for their family. So they legally moved to the US, and Cora was born in Brownsville, Texas. She was placed in an ESL class, and her teachers and her peers told her that she would likely not go to college. So how did Cora feel about this? She felt grateful. Why? Because it inspired her to want to go to college. In fact, she went to the California State University Northridge, and there, a friend told her, Cora, why don't you pick an easier major? This one's too hard for you. How did Cora feel about that? Cora felt grateful. Why? Because this inspired her to pick a hard major. In fact, she picked computer science, business, and she also picked a very hard technical field going into computer science. There, she faced sexism, racism, but how did Cora feel about this? Again, she felt grateful because that inspired her to speak up and use her voice so that things could be better for other women and other people of color around her. In Boss Mamas, we talk about the strategy of gratitude. That when we lean into gratitude, especially for the hard things, they can help change our mindset and help see that these things will lead us from breakdowns to breakthroughs. Cora is a really great example of this. Each time she faced hardship, she embraced it, practiced gratitude, and picked the harder path. And that actually led her then to be, as she shares, the best mom, the best leader, the best family better, the best friend that she can be. I'm really grateful to hear Cora's story of gratitude, especially on this Thanksgiving Day. Can't wait for you to meet this boss mama.
Yes.
So Cora, I'd love to learn more about your mom and just your dad too. Growing up in Mexico, what was it like there, and why was it so important for them to come to the US?
My mother had a third grade education, and it was challenging for them. She was proud of her upbringing. She had a loving mother and a loving father, but they were pretty poor. They lived under a tree for some time. They literally didn't have a house to sleep in. And so I don't want to say in between places, but she says there was a period of time where they had absolutely nothing, and they all slept under a tree until they can find some place to shelter in.
And your mom then met your dad, and they were both working really hard. And so that land dispute that your family went through, there was real physical consequences to that too.
There was a few altercations with my father, and him defending his land, his property, right? And having children at home. And he actually worked as a truck driver and would be gone for days. And I remember my mother telling me a story where she said it was raining and they came by to intimidate her. And she says, I'll never forget it because I had my children at home. She pulled out the shotgun and she started like, no, not today. And she was so strong and so tough. She didn't wait for my father. She said, I've got my hands and I've got the Lord, and he's going to protect us. And she literally scared the hell out of them, and they left. And I think it brought her, I think through that experience, although it was scary, it built courage in her. And I'm so glad she shared that story, because to me, that exemplifies the type of woman that she was.
It's amazing. So inspirational. And I can see why your parents decided they would move to see your aunt in Southern California. So that's where you were born then, Cora, the youngest of 8. Can you tell us, what was it like?
Yeah, my parents never learned English. We were with my aunt and her family for about a year, and my dad worked as a gardener, of course, and he raised enough money to purchase a home in this little town called Thermal, California. My mom worked at a date packing warehouse at night, and she cleaned houses during the daytime. When I went to school, I was immediately tagged as ESL. So my entire life, probably my entire academic life, it was really a challenge for me because I didn't understand these broad vocabulary words. And I'll say that it really impacted me as a child because I always felt insecure and embarrassed about that. Like, my parents don't speak, and I was their interpreter wherever we went. And while my other older siblings, everyone worked, right? Everyone kind of pitched in to the family for the house payments, the food, the growth. I'll tell you that my mother never even drove. She never learned how to drive a car. And I started driving when I was like 13 out of necessity. Right now, driving a minivan. I remember having a booster and something because she used to have to pay bills. I am literally driving, and Thermal is a very small town, no street lights. And so, but again, out of necessity. And I just thought it was normal to me. But yes, back to the ESL, it was always a challenge, but I guess that's the value I added to the families. I was the translator, and occasionally she'd open the mail and have me translate it for her. So for me, though, academically, I just recall it being such a weight, and it was super frustrating. And I always felt like I had to work twice as hard, 3 times as hard.
Being labeled with those negative stereotypes. How did you get through that?
I learned from my mother that you don't play the victim. You deal with the circumstances that are given to you, and it just means you work harder. And no one worked harder than my parents. And I thought, how do I get past this? It just inspired me and motivated me to work harder. It lit a fire in me that said, I may be like this today, but I'm not going to be like that tomorrow. I'm going to use it to motivate me to do better and be better with my language.
And even with that, Cora, you were not treated well in terms of other people. And that story of being on the prom court, could you share that with us?
Sure. I'm super grateful. There are events that I can very vividly remember in my mind, which again, were very hurtful when it happened. But then it kind of catapulted me to a different mindset and way of thinking. So I'll never forget being at the grocery store, and my parents were super loving and very kind to everyone and totally appreciated being here in America. And I remember them being called a name, and I thought, and my parents and my mom just smiled. And I thought, okay, that person is ignorant and doesn't know what they're talking about. And my mom has so much to give, and she's such a wonderful person. I didn't let her know what happened. I just kind of turned something inside me and said, okay, we're not going to stay like this. And that's not okay, but I'm going to learn from it and use it to motivate me to be better. And then on the prom court, and I will tell you, in high school, I was about 40 pounds heavier. I wore glasses, I had buck teeth, and my skin was angry. So I don't know how I ended up on the prom court, but I did, thank God. And I'm super grateful for that. But I remember winning that night. And I made friends with everyone. And I consider more myself the class clown than I did popular, but it's okay. When I won, I remember hearing someone else in the prom court, in the other princesses or whatever you call them, said, "This is the only thing she'll accomplish." That was so painful. And I do recall that moment in time, though, I thought, I didn't know if I was going to go to college. I didn't know what I was going to do after my senior year. But now I'm super grateful for it because I decided right there and then, this doesn't end here. And again, I don't hate her. I'm actually grateful. That's what I needed to hear to get me to and push me toward that new chapter in my life and a new journey, then so be it. So yeah, I took my SATs and I enrolled in college.
It's
Mhm.
incredibly inspirational. And I'm thinking about you and your parents smiling as they get this really disrespectful statement, and how you stepped up then and now you stepping up with this prom court win, but some mean remark again, and how you decided that you're going to go to college. So talk to us about that. So you went on to California State University and
Northridge. Mhm.
Northridge, and how did that experience go?
It was very daunting for me. I was super scared. And again, being the youngest of 8 to go to, and the first to go to college, away to college, my mom was mortified because she thought, why can't you just stay here and work? And the fact that I graduated high school was an accomplishment, right? I'm super spiritual, and I feel like it was just kind of God's orchestrating my entire life into like little experiences that got me to where I am today. And so, yeah, I signed myself up. I attended California State University Northridge. My parents helped me and my family and helped me with the first few years of college. And I remember I had to like work full time to put myself through school. I started off as a political science major, and I took some of those courses. I took a business class, and I remember it was finance and or economics, and it was super challenging. And I'll never forget this gentleman, Paris Bryson, who went to the same church I went to. I asked him to help with tutoring. He was I think a finance major, and I'll never forget it. But this is one of those other life-changing events, right? He was getting frustrated with me in understanding the curriculum, and he got really, I guess, not annoyed, maybe impatient. And he said, "You know what, Cora? I think instead of poli-sci, why don't you do something a little bit less challenging, like liberal studies or child development? Like that might be better for you." And I thought, and I felt so stupid. And I thought, and that's not his intent, right? But he was just trying to, I don't know, give me advice. I decided there and then, I'm like, okay, no, I'm going to not only forget poli-sci economics, I'm going to major in business. And I'm going to pick the hardest business major just to prove you wrong. At the time, it was just to prove him wrong. But again, it was to kind of prove it to myself that I could do it. And so I remember telling him, hey, I changed my major to MIS, which is computer science and business. And he thought, what? And I'm sure he's like, girl, That said, I'm like, thank you, God. I worked my tail off. And Lisa, I remember it's just so many work studies, studying on the weekends. I never went out because I was always studying, because everything was always so much harder for me. It was so much harder. But I so appreciate those words from him, because that is what, again, catapulted me into making a decision, a life-changing decision.
Gratitude for the hard things, hard thing after hard thing, and the hard things keep coming. So Cora, tell us about your climb to the corporate ladder.
My roommate, Paula Jameson, who I love, and she's still one of my very best friends today. We were roommates, and she said, hey, she used to work at Long's drugstore. She's putting herself through college as well. And she said, hey, Cora, I signed you up for an internship. Just show up on Wednesday to this interview, and that's where you'll sit down and they'll interview you. I thought you'd be a great candidate, so make sure you go. And I thought, like, what? I said, oh, okay. And, being a college student, I didn't have a whole lot of money. And I'll never forget, I thought I wanted to look presentable and businesslike. And I remember wearing a gray pleated charcoal skirt with this loose sweater. These freaking pantyhose that I had were, when the crotch is too short. And I am like, every time I'd walk, the crotch would drop. And I'm like, okay, just not a problem. Not a problem. And I remember sitting at the interview, and I'm trying to cross my legs because the crotch was, and I'm like, okay. And I thought, okay, just sound professional. Not a problem, not a problem. And I'm like, Lord, you are in control. Forget the pantyhose. But I just remember thinking maybe that was just a distraction, so I'd take some of the nervousness away. And I just remember sitting there like worried more about my pantyhose in the interview. And the interview went fantastic. She loved me, and I thought, oh, cool. And it really, again, started off my entire career in corporate.
So tell me, you're in now this very male-dominated career. How did you handle, I'm imagining that there's some prejudice that you faced there.
I heard, oh, you're a female and you're Hispanic. You got it made. And I thought, what? I very intentionally, my maiden name is Castro. My married name is Schumann. And I thought that, no, I'm not going to use that as a ticket anywhere. And so I kind of kept that hidden. And my looks are very generic, be anything. And I just remember thinking, no, I will never use or play that card ever, just because I was offended when someone even brought it up. Like, why would you even think that I would need that? And so again, I was kind of glad that they did that, because it just kind of forced me in a different direction. I thought, nope, not going to do that. And so anyway, it's called unconscious bias for a reason. And I have absolutely seen it. I've seen, but I see it in different ways. And I will tell you, Analiza, that sometimes I'll get a call from a coworker or someone that says, you intimidate the hell out of that guy. And I thought, what? I'm like, why is he being such a jerk to me? Like, why? Literally someone said, I'm going to work with your team, but you are not part of this team. And I thought, what did I do? Did I offend? My first instinct was super insecure. He thinks I'm an idiot and I'm stupid and I don't belong. And I remember, again, God sent someone in the team called me and said, nope, it shows that this guy is intimidated by who you are. And that's why he doesn't want to deal with you. And I thought, I was so happy, one, because I wasn't an idiot, but that other people thought that, and it didn't come from me. And I think it came from God, to say you are special and you are important no matter what anyone says.
Cora, not only do you stand there, but you actually take action to say something. Can you share about that?
Oh, sure. And you have to, Analiza, as women, as I get older, I'm 48 now. And I think, gosh, how can I help others as women, as a working mom? I think we need to support each other a lot more and look for opportunities, whether they know it or not, to help each other. And I thought, I didn't want to say anything because I don't want to be that girl. Like, oh God, okay, someone's complaining. It's the girl again in here. And I thought, no, I don't want him to treat other women like that. And I don't want him fired. I don't want him fired. And that's what I told management and HR. I said, listen, I don't want him fired. I just want him trained. I want him to be aware of what he's doing. Maybe he doesn't know it. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And he's super intelligent. He's a very smart person. He can't treat women this way. And I know I'm not alone, because there's other women that he works with. And I thought, if I was being super honest and genuine, God would allow HR to see that I was being honest and genuine and not trying to work any angle. And again, the premise was, let's help him as well. I don't want to attack anyone. Let's help him. But that, I think, the opportunity and the benefits of it outweighed any lashback, any fear inside me.
I love that, because you're taking a view that there's something bigger than yourself, and that includes God. And God is a theme in your story through your life and your family life. And it's really powerful that every time you've had the hard thing, you've seen that hard thing as a gift, and you've turned to God as a way of saying, there's something in this for me to learn, something in this for me to stand up and be stronger. It's really inspiring, Cora. So, Cora, I know that you met someone who was older than you, and I'm curious, because that's how you ended up being a mom to 3 kiddos.
I was in school and we'd always talk about, who we'd want to marry. And, and I never really dated in college because I was too busy in those dang study groups, but it's okay. And I remember just trying to figure out what I wanted. And my church leader, the youth leader, Debbie Wilson, who I love and am very close to still, said, why don't you write down a list of things you want in a husband and start praying about him now, which really struck me, because I remember praying with my mom. She used to have us pray with her and kneel in her bed. And she used to pray about my husband and my kids. And I used to think, what? But that's how she's already praying for the next generation. So that struck me. And I thought, yeah, well, why wouldn't I pray about it? My mom's been praying about this too. So I remember writing a list of everything I wanted in a soulmate, in the person. And of course, it's someone who feared God. But I mean, it was an endless list. Analiza, it was long. And I was asking for everything. I mean, everything. And I remember I shared the list with my husband for his birthday party, and he is 14 years older than I am. We met through a mutual friend. And when I met him, my heart kind of raced, and I thought, oh Lord, and I prayed about that too. And I said, he was actually seeing someone else at the time. And I thought, nope, not gonna get sucked into that drama. But I said, I'm just gonna pray, see what happens. And yeah, I'd say about maybe a year later, we connected. And I shared anyway in a birthday party for him. I shared with everyone about the list I had made, and I kind of joked because I said everything that I asked for on that list was nothing compared to what God blessed me with, except I didn't put hair. Balding and his bald. He's like, my balding started in my 30s, and I just thought, okay, it's hysterical, but I was amazed at God's goodness and his answer to prayers, right? And I'm so grateful if that list is tucked away somewhere somehow, but God absolutely answers prayers. So I'm super grateful for that. So we got married a year later, and since he's 14 years older, we started having babies right away. So I call it Greg was our honeymoon baby, and honeymoon baby, my mom was super scared. She was doing the math, and I said, maybe a month after we got married is when I got pregnant with Greg. And then 60 months later after Greg, we had Tom. And then 60 months later after Tom, we had Maddie. So I have a 15, 16, and 17-year-old now, and they are just amazing. Super grateful. They love God too. And but yeah, seriously, everything I prayed for, God blessed me with. So I'm so much to be thankful for.
Cora, this theme of gratitude for all the things, the wonderful things, the hard things, it permeates your life. Can you walk me through a quick day in the life? Like, what does that look like for you when you wake up, when you go through your day, when you're going to meetings?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, how do you embed that?
The most powerful gift my mom has ever given to any of her children. Obviously, they didn't have monetary riches or anything like that, but she always taught us to pray. And people said, when did you start praying? And I said, I've never not known to pray as a child, as a baby. I said, I just remember being very little. I was always taught to pray. So it's a journey. And the more you pray, the closer you draw to God. And there's nothing more important in this world for me than my relationship with God. And that's what I tell my kids. That means he's the one I talk to in the morning and the one I talk to at night, first thing and then last at night. So I wake up in the morning and I say, thank you. Even if I'm going through hard times or anyone, I said, firstly, thank you that I'm awake. And thank you for the opportunities that are going to be presented in front of me today, even though they're challenges, because challenges are always an opportunity as well. I pray for my kids. I pray for my family, my friends. But there's so much to be thankful for already. The fact, again, health, so much. And so I feel that grounds me in the morning for the rest of the day. It just kind of sets the tone. No matter if I get my butt kicked at work or whatever, it's like still have a lot to be grateful for. And that is the foundation of my day every single day.
All right, Cora, with that, let's lighten it up a little bit with some fun lightning round questions. You're wearing a red hot dress. For the people who can't see you, you look beautiful. So watch the video. All right, let's start with our first question. Chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Cooking or takeout?
Oh, girl. Cooking.
Climb a mountain or jump from a plane?
Climb a mountain. Don't do heights.
Have you ever worn socks with sandals?
No.
How would you rate your karaoke skills on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being Mariah Carey?
Everyone else would say 0. I say 10.
What's a recent book you read?
The Bible. I read it every day. The Bible.
What is your favorite way to practice self-care?
Ooh. just kind of like to, I do online shopping or browse through stuff. I don't do the salon. I don't do nails. I don't do anything like that. But I think just to, oh, and HGTV. Honestly, I know it's not self-care, but I just love those freaking shows and I love everything about it. And that little escape to me is self-care.
What's a good professional development that you've done?
Professional development that I've done. Like,
Class or course or
oh gosh.
even a good book.
Professional development. So like I was part of a women's, it's called Semantic Women and Networking, an organization where I would interview other corporate women to share their experiences with other women so that, especially, you know, whether you're just starting out or have already been there or single or have kids, I think it's important for executive management, especially women, to encourage and inspire other women by their stories. And they become more relatable, I think, as well. So, and it's women helping other women. So I'm pretty proud of that women's organization and women's, you know, it was a fun during my previous employer, fun to do.
What's your definition of a boss mama?
Ooh. There is so much power in the words, I've been there. And if you've been there and are on the other side or even going through it, I think sharing your experience with others who are either in it or are going to go through it, and just that awareness and that. So it's sharing your experiences with other women, knowing that it would help them.
What advice would you give your younger self?
You're right where God wants you to be. And just keep trusting in him and it's going to be just fine.
And then where can we find you, like LinkedIn or anywhere like that?
Oh. So I kind of gave up on social media just with 3 kids and a full-time overtime job. But I do have Instagram, I think, and Facebook.
And then the last question is, do you have a final ask, recommendation, or any parting thoughts to share with the audience?
Sure. I have this on my Facebook profile. It says the world is changed by your example and not your opinion. And I think that those are powerful words, and just know that every day there's always an opportunity to make a difference. And not just for women, for anyone around you. Just recognize those opportunities, whether big or small, getting the door for someone, bringing a coffee for someone, just especially women who are so compassionate and I think have a lot of empathy. Don't ignore those opportunities. Use them every single day and reflect on them at the end of the day, because I promise you, you've made more of an impact than you think.